Hello, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. How is everybody doing? How are you guys doing back there? Hi. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today at Mocha Fest, day one. You're going to see a lot of great things and have seen a lot of wonderful things. Right now, we're going to get into a conversation about all the things that you see around us, everything that you're going to see on stage today and tomorrow as well. And we're going to talk about culture and cultural capital specifically, and how that relates to identity. Culture is something that often distinguishes us. It often brings people together, but it also often, especially in a Muslim context, separates people and causes a lot of anxiety and conflict sometimes. And so what we're going to talk about today is, with our esteemed guests, how can culture be something that connects us all? How can culture be something that's utilized as a resource and as a creative sector in itself, while still staying authentic and rooted in some sort of tradition, but not falling into the places of strictly museums and history, but being alive and vibrant and still connecting folks as young as the people in this room. So I'm going to ask this question to everyone here on the panel, and we will start to my right with a wonderful new rug maker, I would say, that's a visual artist from Baku, Azerbaijan, Mr. Faig.
Thank you very much. So I have to tell my story, right? But in general. So as you started our conversation about culture and traditions, it's actually very hard to work with this kind of theme and media because it's always touching you. Like it's always touching your identity as a citizen of your culture, and at the same time you always want to move forward. So that was a position of my art. So that was a connection of the past, where was my culture, where was in general Islamic culture, and the future. So and how this future can be, and how this future can be developed. So. So I choose the carpet as a media because this is one of the stable and one of the how to say, like one of the codes, like it's a symbol of the tradition of all Middle East, actually all Islamic world, and in general like all this area where we're all living. And because first of all we're using it at home, so that's why it's the secondary is like our home symbol. So now it's better. So that's why that was a main material what I'm using in my art. And the second, it's chaos. Like it's something what's gonna be in future, or it's something what's going, or what the art is using in their head. So all art is actually trying to be out of the box. So we just yesterday talked about that with my friend's artist, and. So that was actually the position of the artist who living between the culture, but I mean strong culture, and the same time living between the modern future world. So we have to all because I'm as a citizen of the world. I'm thinking we have to all have to be the same. So that's why we have to always try to find one language, one way to communicate with each other. In another hand, we all have our cultures, our heritage. So we have to also keep that. We have to keep that too. So my art is something like transition between two of these part of the, I don't know how to say it, right?
Of two different kind of times within the culture, right?
Yeah.
Alfie or Rafi, can we have the visuals up of Faig's art so that people know what we're talking about? Okay, there. Okay, great. So a question for you, Faig. You're taking something that's very traditional, right? Something for hundreds of years has been around, but you're reinventing that. How do you cope with either breaking the rules or somebody saying, no, you can't do it like this? Is there any pushback? And how are you developing something new out of something that's so traditional?
Actually, it's it's very hard to develop to work with the people like in tradition, because actually they're living in the very close. Not, I mean, not only in Azerbaijan. It's like all over the world, the most part of the world. Because I'm also working with the Indian embroidery maker and the carpet maker. I work in just for okay. Yeah, okay, I got it. So it's very hard to communicate with them, because so they are like, why they are best, like actually the best carpet makers in Azerbaijan, they're living in the villages where with a very close society. So they don't want to communicate with the aliens, even like if you are Azerbaijan, it doesn't matter. And for sure they don't want to do like, so actually this one I did in India. So it's with the Indian emblem, but actually. So, and yeah, it's very hard to communicate with them. So actually, my first, the first approach to them, so was they reject that. So it's take about 2 years to explain them that it's not bad, it's okay. So and another problem was because there was a woman and they don't want to, like, for sure they didn't speak with another man. So I communicate through the husband, through the brothers, and like, or the somebody in the village. So, and also this take the time, like, I have to find a way to communicate with them, just find a language to speak, and I just create a lot of sketches. And so after that we start to work. And actually the previous one was a sketches, so now we can see the actual carpets. So like that. But now I think it's also like it's interesting for them too. So they also trying to find something new in what they're doing right now. So, and also they teaching me to changing, like, it's kind of collaboration between us. So it's not only like I'm doing some important part of the work. It's they also doing the part of because they keeping this heritage, they keeping this knowledge. So I'm just an artist who is coming with my sketch.
And you're making this relevant to a whole new audience now. People who may not have been interested in this as a form of visual art now are.
I don't know.
Yeah, please.
I'm just curious about the process. You said that you bring a sketchbook, and then they immediately can translate into this, or is there some back and forth? Like
no, there are a lot of back and forth, and actually the first works was very hard to explain. The sketches they didn't understand at all, and the carpets was like wrong. There was a lot of, actually that was good because I like it, because I'm actually doing the glitches. Oh, thank you. So that's why it's taking time always, because I'm all the sketches I'm doing in computer first, then I'm translating into the sketch the sketch paper. So then after giving it to them, but same time it's very hard because they used to use a different type of technology, but for this kind of carpet, because if you can see that, so I will just show you the previous. For example, this one. So it's different type of the shapes here. So they have to a little bit change the technology, and we just about two years work on this kind of technology, or like shape like that. Like, because they also used to make the carpet with a square or round, so which is like was much easier. So I'm also using the sculpture too, but it's next. Yeah.
Did you come across? Sorry, I'm asking the question.
Yeah.
Did you come across people who said, "No, I don't want to do this for you"?
Yeah, I also was even not beaten, but was like kicked off from the village with my old sketches. But it's okay. I come back there with my, apologize maybe, because this also like, it's. I don't want to say that they are bad or like they are. I don't know how to say in English this word, but it's something not progressive, because this is also life. We don't have to be all progressive, or we don't have to be all modern. So that's why this is my work. So I have to be more. I don't know, understand them. Respect them, for example, too. Yeah.
Thank you, Faig. If you want to see some of his work, you can just walk outside and to the left, and you can actually see it in person. I'm going to move on now to my left, to my country mate, I guess I would say, something like that. Mr. Omar Offendum, who's a hip-hop artist, a spoken word poet, and many other things as well. And just ask him a little bit. Actually, before he starts, maybe we can see some of his work, because you can't see it on the screen, but you can hear it. So if you wouldn't mind starting off and then going into a little bit of a response to the question.
Hey, okay. Well, assalamu alaikum, everybody. All right. So one of the things that I really love about what I do is that I'm able to reconnect my story as a Syrian, as an Arab, as a Muslim, and make that relatable to people in America through hip hop, something that's been very well established, obviously, for several decades now. And one of the main ways that I like to do that is through storytelling. So I'm going to share a piece with you. It might take a couple of minutes. Hopefully that's okay. About the place that's probably the most near and dear to my heart, especially these days, and it's Damascus. It's the city where my mother is from. I have a lot of memories there. And at the same time, I didn't really grow up there. And so through the poetry of Damascus, my mom was able to kind of really build that bond between me and her in a very meaningful way and show me the life that she knew growing up. And honestly, that even today in Damascus doesn't quite exist the same. So this is actually a translation of a very famous poem by a poet from Damascus whose name is Nizar Qabbani. It's called Al-Qasida Dimashqiya, the Damascene poem, and it goes like this. This is Damascus, and this is a glass of spirit comfort I love, but I'm aware of the fact that certain kinds of love can slaughter you in their wrath. I'm a Damascene being, dissect me into haves and have not, but grapes and apples fall in your path. Open my veins with scalpels, hear ancestral chants of heart transplants can cure some of the passionate. Why does mine stay torn in half then? Minarets crying tears of absence. Like trees their souls speak, years have passed them. You can hear them asking for civil rights to live amongst tears of jasmine as house cats take naps, relaxing, coffee grinders crackling, childhood reminders back when. How could I forget when my reaction to cardamom's strong fragrance yet and still finds attraction? As proud fathers wait for a sweet daughter's face, I'm asking, my roots, heart, and language are here. How am I supposed to make myself any more clear? Is clarification necessary with love so dear, so much so that there was no fear? How many Damascene bracelets were sold for this poetry here? Apologizing to the willow, wondering if my little siblings can hear my parts. Been scattered cross coasts for years, lanterns on horizons floating, saddened eyes had lost their hopes to sear. We're tossed around in shoreless oceans only to be hunted down by devils and demonic ghosts. I battle garbage, rapid prose and rapid flows. It's apropos until no war is open to them, that's for sure. Identity of Arabness resembling a widow, though. Is there no Festivus for the rest of his history books can show? What will remain of poetry's originality if so many a brown-nosed liar gets to have complete control? How we gonna ever write a verse to spit when killers still approach? I bore the burden of my words upon my back until I grieve. What shall remain of poetry when it is finally relieved? The saddest thing in this world, my lady, is knowing that we were meant to be from the very start, but that may never be. He said, هذه دمشق وهذه الكأس والراح إني أحب وبعض الحب ذباح أنا الدمشقي لو شرحتم جسدي لسال منه عناقيد وتفاح ولو فتحتم شراييني بمديتكم سمعتم في دمي أصوات مراح زراعة القلب تشفي بعض من عشقوا وما لقلبي إذا أحببت جراح. Thank you.
So Omar, you're obviously connected to a rich tradition of literature and poetry that comes from the Arab world. You're also connected to something that's very contemporary, at least within the last 3 decades, which is hip-hop culture.
Right.
But you're also connected to poetry of people like Langston Hughes and others that are right there from America. How do you bring all of this together and also stay relevant on what's happening today in our world?
Wow. I think by not necessarily even thinking about it in those terms of me trying to be relevant, I'm just trying to speak to my experience in an honest way, something that's reflective of my, my childhood, my upbringing, something that's reflective of the music that I love, something that recognizes the fact that what we call hip-hop today, to me, is really a modern incarnation of something that's been happening all over the world for thousands of years. It's really the modern manifestation of, our ancient oral cultures and traditions that, date back to millennia in Africa, in Asia, in the Middle East. And so when I'm able to put it in that broader perspective, it doesn't make it so necessarily myopic and unique. It becomes part of a bigger story. And for that reason, I think it becomes more relatable and becomes more accessible to people anywhere. I think one of the problems, I don't want to say one of the problems today because that makes me sound old, but like, I think one of the problems is that, generally speaking, we try to classify things, especially within like kind of, I don't know, very like elevated discourse, like that's what this is, and then that's what that is. And I think there's nothing new under the sun, especially when it comes to art, like cultures influence each other, languages melt into each other. Nothing ever dies, really. Like it's always kind of just being regenerated in different forms. And when I can recognize that link through art, it opens things up for me more, and that's what I try to do.
Another follow-up question for you is, there's a lot of political issues that you may relate to within your music, right? And a lot of these issues around the world, and for Muslims specifically, are issues that can cause conflict, that can cause a lot of anger. But somehow the way you deliver it, because I know your work, is not one that riles up anger in kind of a way where it's like, we got to go out and do something, but it causes introspection as well, right? So where's that balance coming from in you? Because you could be a really angry MC right now even, right? But you're not. So can you kind of help us walk through that?
That's a really good question. I think I respect everybody's intentions when it comes to like how they approach their art. If for some people it's coming from an angry place and that's their honest experience, then I respect that and give them the space to do that. But for me, because I'm from a part of the world, especially now, that is so divided and is so torn apart, I don't want to be another divisive voice in that echo chamber of anger and hatred, especially because I recognize the fact that I'm privileged. I mean, I live thousands of miles away from this war, so how dare I add to that, and make the lives of people that I love and care about difficult, just because of some political opinion I might have. So I think when it comes to that, and then when it comes to just the Muslim world in general, I mean, sadly, what united us for thousands of years, perhaps, in a weird way, is also, now being thrown back at us and dividing us, and I don't want to participate in that. I think when it comes to my understanding of Islam and the prophetic message, when it comes to my understanding of hip-hop culture, when it comes to my understanding of what art can do for a society, I'd rather kind of be on the side of helping people see the commonalities in each other, respecting the differences for what they are, but building towards something more positive. Because I think, again, coming from a place like Syria, it's just you see the absolute worst that human beings can do to each other, and at the same time, my upbringing was one that always instilled in me a pride for being Syrian and seeing the thousands of years of history and culture. When I was being raised, to grow up and understand what it meant to be Syrian, it wasn't simply a Syrian Sunni Muslim perspective. I respected, loved, and appreciated our Shia brothers and sisters, our Christian heritage, our Jewish heritage, our Roman, and everything. And because it dates back 13, 14, 15,000 years, and all of that is part of my story. And so because of that, I think I'm able to kind of, at least I hope, add a little bit more nuance to conversations. And I'm generally not the type of person who likes to get angry about things, I don't know. So that's where I'm at. Yeah.
Well, I think you're doing a great job and a great example to young people out there.
Thank you.
Where you don't have to sugarcoat things, but you can also talk to people in a way where everybody kind of understands where you're coming from and has respect for the other.
I think that's a really good point. Sorry, just when you're honest about something, when you're not hiding something or coming from some insecure place, when you're very upfront about your feelings, even if you're sad, even if you're upset, whatever, there's nothing more liberating than that, the truth, so, yeah.
And you can catch Omar performing a more full set, I believe today too, right? No, so tomorrow, twice at least. Once here at 3 o'clock, and then at the concert, the main concert at 8 o'clock in the plenary hall. So please come. A lot of artists will be there, and it'll be great fun and informative as well at the same time from the stage. One more time for Omar.
Thank you.
Last but definitely not least is Maïmouna.
There's also
Oh, yes. I'm coming back to Eden. Not last. Maïmouna, when I asked the question earlier, how can culture connect while staying rooted, right? And how can culture be progressive while still respecting tradition? Maïmouna's response was, well, that's my entire story. Yeah. So I'm going to ask her now just to share her story with us.
Okay. Allora, salam alaikum. I am Maïmouna Guerresi. Comincio a parlare in italiano. I begin
She will start
in
to
Italiano.
speak Italian.
Speak Italian. Allora, sono un'artista multimediale. Si sente?
I'm a multimedia artist.
Sono nata in Italia. I'm born in Italy. Okay.
I was born in Italy.
Ma il mio percorso di vita, il mio destino mi ha portato nell'Africa musulmana.
But my life pattern brought me to the Islamic Africa.
In particolare in Senegal, dove ho conosciuto e aderito alla comunità Murid.
Specifically in Senegal, where she joined the Murid community.
E appunto dove mi sono convertita ed ho avuto così una nuova identità con il nome di Maïmouna.
And I had a new identity under the name of Maïmouna.
Questo nome, diremo, ha cambiato la mia vita, ma anche le mie scelte artistiche.
This name changed my life and also my artistic choices.
Così ho avuto la necessità e l'esigenza di esprimere tutto questo nella mia arte.
So therefore I felt the need to express all of this in my heart.
E di esprimere quelle sensazioni, quelle emozioni che ho avuto nel frequentare i luoghi santi musulmani e l'incontro con le persone religiose musulmane.
To express my experience in being in the holy places, the Islam holy places, and speak with the holy people.
Così spesso nei miei titoli, i soggetti dei miei lavori hanno dei riferimenti all'Islam.
So often my works refer to Islam.
Un modo per avvicinare le persone, per far capire, specialmente in Occidente dove io vivo, all'Islam e anche al mio mondo.
A way to get people in the Western world, especially in the country I live, to make them closer to Islam.
Così le mie intuizioni, le mie emozioni le esprimo come dei colori, come dei volti, come delle persone, dei segni.
So I do express my emotion with colors, people, characters.
Dove il corpo non è più la prigione dell'anima, ma diventa un tempio.
Well, the body is not the cage of the soul, but is
un tempio.
But is a temple.
Sacro. Ok, per tornare al tema di questa conferenza che è sull'identità, io così volevo dire che normalmente l'identità è una questione di razza, di cultura, si intende come una questione di razza, di cultura, di professione, di status, di religione, di lingua.
Okay,
appunto.
to come back to the main object of this conference, of this panel, which is the identity. So for me, identity is.
Questo lo devo dire ancora. Questo ancora devo dirlo, però per me. No, ok. Ma per me l'identità non è questione di razza, di cultura.
So the identity is not only a matter of race,
okay,
culture,
ma una questione di costruzione interiore.
But a matter of interior development.
Sì, di fatto di emozioni, di esperienze.
made of experience,
illuminazioni,
emotions,
ahwal, illuminazioni e fede.
faith and faith.
Io posso dire che potrei dire che il mio lavoro, il mio linguaggio è l'espressione di me stessa.
I may say that my work, my artistic work, my artistic language is the expression of myself.
Come individuo che vuole affermare la propria identità con un termine, métissage.
As an individual that want to reaffirm his own identity using a French term,
Yeah.
a French terminology,
term.
métis, which means a mix, a mixture.
Un ibrido di culture africane, asiatiche ed europee unite dalla fede islamica.
As an hybrid of culture
O dalla spiritualità.
based to all based to the Islamic faith
Fede o spiritualità.
or spirituality.
Su questo territorio che si svolge la mia ricerca personale e anche creativa.
This is the ground where I develop my personal research and my creativity.
Inoltre, io così, sempre per parlare della parola métissage, che in francese mix, no? Assomiglia al termine tissage, che vuol dire tessere.
Coming back to the word métissage, which means mixture, it reminds also the French word tissage, which means weaving, sewing,
Costruire,
building something together.
Costruire qualcosa di fatto bene, di perfetto, di lungo e laborioso, sia pratico, ma anche vuol dire qualcosa di interiore, di intellettuale e di profondo, diremo.
To build something well done, precise, dedicated.
È su questo appunto che sia la mia ricerca continua sulla conoscenza attraverso l'Islam, e questo è un fatto personale, e poi anche il mio lavoro diventa appunto, si esprime attraverso volti, segni, simbologie in questo modo.
So this is the way of I'm carry on my research, even as a personal, interior and spiritual development, and I express in all my works in the forms of symbols, signs, characters.
Il potenziale figurativo che io propongo nell'esprimere la spiritualità islamica prende spunto per esempio dalle miniature asiatiche.
The visual potential that I express, that I utilize to portray the spirituality takes its inspiration from Asian Islamic miniatures and from the Islamic African art.
O African art, ma arte africana, quella più recente, dei murales dove disegnano.
Also the most recent one, the one from the graffitis
e dall'iconografia europea, dei dittici, dei trittici.
And also from the iconography, the European.
This is Mohammed and daughter, but it's not Mohammed Salah alayhi salam. Is the name the man.
So this is Mohammed.
Her daughter. Her daughter. Appunto, io metto in scena un Islam molto ecumenico.
So I try to stage an Islam which is tolerant and ecumenical.
Ecco, che tende alla conoscenza verso il divino.
That is more is going towards the knowledge, the divine knowledge.
Dove appunto i miei temi, il mio universo, dove affronto temi appunto come la metamorfosi, l'elevazione. il contatto mistico, diventano appunto dei temi che aiutano, diremo, alla spiritualità e non al materiale, ecco, in questo senso.
And I try to explore it through my recurrent themes, or subjects, the metamorphosis, the mystic context, the elevation, and the rituals.
Dove appunto così do una lettura delle origini comuni delle religioni monoteiste.
So I try to describe the common origins of the three main great monotheistic religions.
Ma anche se sono pervasa da misticismo e da spiritualità, il mio lavoro non è lontano dai problemi attuali e dalle tragedie quotidiane. Io voglio dire, in fondo è anche una forma di denuncia, soprattutto ai pregiudizi, alla paura del diverso, all'abitudine, alla pratica del dividere le persone e di catalogare.
So although I am surrounded with spiritualities and mysticism, my work is not from is not away from the problems of the daily life. Or the present tragedies, which are nowadays reduced to mere figures and statistics. But it's also a complaint against the prejudice and the fears created by divisions and classification of peoples and things. Without realizing that everything is in movement and in continuous transformation.
Sì, come appunto hanno anche detto gli artisti, giustamente, che è il tema che affrontiamo noi artisti sostanzialmente, è quello del capire che l'essenza dell'essere è proprio il divenire. È questo che ha detto lui e anche tu. Avete più o meno abbiamo lo stesso linguaggio, in modo diverso.
What is common in all the artists, even the people that is here today, is that the essence of being is becoming.
Becoming,
That is the key for everybody and for all the artists.
Yes. Non so, forse potrei dire una cosa di Rumi. Rumi, si può dire qualcosa? Allora, per esempio, tutto sembra fermo, ma in realtà si muove talmente velocemente che l'occhio umano non riesce a vedere. E una frase di Rumi che mi piace molto è un esempio, come la trottola che si muove talmente velocemente che sembra ferma, ma invece si muove velocemente.
So in summary is that what I mean is that we live in a world that it looks still, but it's moving so fast that the eye cannot catch. And there is a quotation from Rumi which I like very much that says it's like the spin that looks still, but instead is very fast. It's moving very fast.
Your transformation, your work.
Thank you, Maïmouna.
Okay.
One question is, we see your beautiful work here, and I think everybody can attest to that. And we see the inspiration through what you're saying, and even in the artwork itself. Just a question of curiosity: before you had your experience with the Mourides in Senegal, were you creating art, and how has it changed since then?
Mi hanno già fatto questa domanda.
Quali sono state le differenze, i cambiamenti che questo ha portato?
Sì, io intanto provengo da una famiglia religiosa, però cattolica.
Okay. First of all, I'm coming from a family deeply religious, but Catholic.
Ecco, io come stavamo parlando con un componente del festival, io sono ritornata a diventare, cioè prima ero cattolica, sono ritornata musulmana, no? Perché in realtà tutti si nasce musulmani.
Okay,
Poi si
as I was
ritorna.
mentioned before to one of the friends here, I came back to Muslim because everybody was born Muslim in the beginning. Then,
E questo
changes
è
path.
interessante. Mi è sempre interessato qualcosa che mi porta verso la spiritualità. E io ho lavorato più sul lavoro della body art, su me stessa, e mi confrontavo ad esempio con un albero o con la mitologia.
I was always been attracted by spirituality. Yeah. So I started with body art on myself, and I was, for example, trying to portray myself as a tree.
Ma chiaramente il cambiamento interiore ti dà il desiderio di prendere in mano la propria espressione, in fondo come una forma chiaramente di sforzo, jihad, no? Nella tua vita devi fare qualcosa, no? Di giusto. E allora se fai una scelta interiore non puoi parlare con lo stesso linguaggio di prima. Quindi, come ho detto, simbologie, il velo che è ricorrente nei miei lavori, che è quasi un dhikr, perché io continuo a farlo indossare questo velo, no? Come una ripetizione taumaturgica.
Okay, obviously the interior changes has changed also my work, and it's obvious that this is happening when it's a sort of effort everybody has to take. Is that jihad? The struggle to pursue something different, to change, to make a change in your life. So you can see in my works, for example, the scarf that is always present in my work and which I continues to keep my models wearing.
Ma soprattutto mi è interessato far vedere le similitudini, le cose più simili, non le differenze.
But what I was interested it was to portray the similarity, not the differences.
So la Madonna è simile a the Veleid.
So Mother Mary is similar to with the veil and scarf.
Well, thank you, Maïmouna. I think I have a piece of bad news for everyone, is that unfortunately we don't have her work here. The good news is because it's being exhibited all over the world, literally, as we speak. The other piece of good news is there's a film that Maïmouna and a presentation that she will be giving tomorrow. So please check out your schedule, and you can watch a film that she's produced as well as a presentation that she'll be giving. I'm going to go now to the real last but not least, and I'll have to say something first, and that is that Mr. Eddin Khoo, who I met a couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago, sent me very quickly alone, guiding two white Americans through a village of Klantan to see a Hawaiian Kulit troupe. And this is part of the mystery, the intrigue, and also the special skill and talent that Eddin Khoo has, which is representing the cultural forms that exist within Malaysia and presenting those the way they should be presented to the world. So, Eddin.
Thank you. Does this work? Yeah. I'm just going to show a short photo slideshow, not yet. I'll just say a few words about what I've just heard and what I've just seen. And I'm totally just amazed at the work I have just seen. It's totally overwhelming and overpowering. And I'm sure I'll make it to the session tomorrow.
Thank you.
Incredible in terms of its ability just to capture raw symbolic power. It's just unbelievable. And let me just say something about who I am and what I represent. I essentially am a poet and a writer, and I've worked in scholarly work for a good 25 years or so. I work in a region, Southeast Asia, which boasts something like the largest Muslim population in the world. Also the most polyglot and cosmopolitan, I think, Muslim population in the world. Extremely bastardized culture that we come from. We also have a very unique experience with historical Islam, having never been conquered at any period of our time, and having really been drawn and lured and seduced by mystical Islam. Sufism was the crest that essentially brought about the mass conversion of Southeast Asia to Islam, ending with Java sometime in the 18th and 19th century. And of course, one of the most unique and distinctive aspects in the conversion of island Southeast Asia to Islam was the use of art. And of course, the cultural transformation of its people. We still exist as a very complex, I don't like to use the word syncretic, it is all too easily categorical, but we are an extremely complex and complicated culture of various hierarchies and various structures of influences. I began my work principally in the ritual traditions of Malaysia about 25 years ago, and I began work essentially as a reporter and a journalist, reporting on an amazing phenomenon of cultural politics that took place in Malaysia in the early 90s, which was the proscription or the banning of particular art forms associated in particular with Malay Muslims. Traditions such as the shadow play, which is well known, the wayang kulit, and other forms of ritual therapeutic theater that had existed among the Malay population for, well, hundreds of years. I am in a unique position in the sense that I am not a Muslim. I am a practicing Hindu, and I am an apprentice Hindu priest. I also am, but I am a scholar of Islam in the formal sense, in the sense that I did my degrees in Islam, in particular on the metaphysics of Arabi and Al-Halaj. So I have a very close relationship, of course. Let me, before I proceed, then just kind of show you the kind of work I do, or at least examples of the work I do, in just a photo slide, a 3 or 4 minute photo slide of the ritual traditions that my organization studies and represents.
No, but non esce, vedi così.
So that's pretty much my family. Mostly Muslim, some not Muslim, some Buddhists who perform Buddhist rituals, strict ritual traditions, but whose musicians are all Malay and Muslim, and who have interacted for hundreds of years. It is the kind of context in which we work. I was very drawn to something you said, Omar, about not being pulled into various quarrels that are confronting you, but to allow things to work organically. And when you reflect on culture, when you reflect on traditional culture, it is very much about doing that. It's about finding out that whether people have come together through conflict or whether they have come together through confluences, the point is they come together and they evolve together and they metamorphose together. And one of the amazing things I saw in Maïmouna's work, of course, was the power, of course, to break down categories and to look at people in all their rawness and power and color, and to be able to capture the metaphors that exist in our daily life. I say this kind of poetically because I think human life in most societies is very poetic. But we are facing challenges, and we are facing challenges not just in the Muslim world, but all around the world. But I think it's important to understand what those challenges are and what those challenges represent to human societies and cultures who insist on looking at themselves beyond the nominal, beyond the literal, and to allow themselves to engage in ways that are metaphorical and symbolic. Art has never been elite, and the evolution of culture is most rich, I think, in the life of ordinary people, which is where the forces who are against creativity and who are against cosmopolitan approaches to culture and society are extremely inimical. What I also loved about Maïmouna's work is, of course, it takes time. Time is essential, and we are being very, very easily distracted and very, very easily kind of confused in everything that is surmised to us in 124 letters. Is that what a tweet? 140 letters. I don't tweet. Tweeting is for birds, and they do it better than us. I also like to think that sometimes language is very complex and has to be, and we don't need to understand everything immediately. I remember the British poet W.H. Auden, who once said, you know, if anyone understands my poetry, I'm not writing it very well. And, you know, there are forces that are extremely, I think, dangerous. I think I can use the word dangerous today. And the danger is not so much in the obvious conflict and blood on the streets that we see, but it's the process of dehumanization that is taking place on an everyday level that I think is also bolstered and harnessed by things like technology and our inability really to just take a step back. And many of the traditions you have seen are incredibly artistic traditions and all encapsulating ones in the sense that there's all kinds of symbolism that is being performed. There's poetry, there's music, and the artist is expected to do everything. Yeah? But it also, I think, is important for us to be able to create necessary spaces for us to perform, but perform as a meditative experience, perform as an ecstatic experience, perform as a soulful experience. What is most inimical, I think, to a lot of the expression of religion today, and this doesn't only involve Islam, is the lack of anything resembling the spiritual experience. Yeah? And I think that is something that creative people in particular have to cultivate and insist on, actually. And it comes in a variety of forms, in a variety of mediums. I have a 180-year-old Azerbaijani rug in my house, which I absolutely adore. But I thought your work was fantastic. So I think it's in on platforms like this where we are able to articulate that. but in every corner of our societies, we need to go and rekindle and reignite that kind of approach to our deepest and inner selves.
Thank you, Eddin. I'm going to ask Eddin just one follow-up question, but we will take a couple of questions from the audience too. So if you have one, please be prepared because our time is running very short. So I'll ask Eddin to do something he doesn't like to do, and then the 140 characters or 30-second answer. A lot of the art forms you showed here, right? The Kuda Kepang, the Wayang Kulit, things like this, are they doomed, honestly, to be a part of history at this point, or part of an entertainment show that tourism puts on? Or is there something that you see that's, that has some longevity and is the younger generation taking it up?
Practically, it is not doomed because the young people have suddenly realized that tradition is very sexy. And another reason why I believe it will never be doomed is because you cannot kill human yearning. And this is an expression of human yearning. And for that reason, I think it will continue to thrive, actually.
I think you'd be a great tweeter, by the way. Can you tell everybody the name of your organization, just in case they missed it?
Yeah, the name of our organization is Pusaka, which is the Malay Sanskrit word for heritage.
So we'll all be gone, but Eddin will be here. So please, connect with him on this topic. Can we please take any questions from the audience? We only have time for maybe one or two. Is there a mic for the audience?
I would like to make a question to you. You have spoken in favor of human instinct civilization, actually, culture, instinct culture. Do you think the culture between the civilization, relationship between culture and civilization, sometimes harmful for creativity with the relationship of heritage, tradition, beauty? Do you have understand my question? According to my view, I believe in the present civilization era, the civilization is very much harmful for the classical norm, classical beauty, classical aesthetics, which you have discussed in your deliberation. So kindly, I would like to request to explain what is the role of civilization in favor or disfavor of culture, aesthetics, classics, heritage. Thank you.
Well, I think culture gave birth to civilization. And what we understand and take for granted today as civilization, we talk about us being civilized without actually understanding the processes that create civilization and are in the process destroying all those instincts and impulses in us that were able to create civilization in the first place. So really, I think, and there's a wonderful, great poem in the Javanese language written by a very well-known mystic of Java called Joyoboyo. And he calls it the prophecy of Joyoboyo. And basically, he looks at our century, this century, 21st century, and basically says, everything is, the Malay word is songsang, turned on its head. What we understand to be true is not really true, and what we understand to be not true, we take to be true. So we talk a lot about civilization today without understanding what the quintessence of it is.
Thank you, Eddin. Anybody else with the question? And I'll also open it up to the panel. If anybody wants to ask each other a question, this is the time now.
I wanted to ask a question to Maïmouna. So your work is absolutely exquisite, and thank you so much for sharing it. The United States is a very racialized society, very racially charged. And a lot of times when people see, for example, imagery like this, and then coming from someone who is not African, for example, they might think that there's something wrong there, that you might be appropriating or exploiting this imagery, but you're not really from there. I'm curious if you've ever faced that in your work. Have people from Italy ever said, she's not from Africa, why is she using African, for example, Yeah. To be clear, I don't think that way. I'm just asking if you ever faced that in Italy. Is it because in America I know that's something that would come up.
ma
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
chiedo se sono
Yeah.
quali comunità, la comunità nera o la comunità...
in generale hai mai avuto questo tipo di problema?
No, chiedo a lui se I ask you the black community or the general? No,
No,
general.
just anybody. Yeah. Is it a criticism you've ever faced? Has anybody ever? No.
No, no. Allora, i problemi sono stati più in Europa.
The problem were more in Europe.
Oh, okay.
In Italy in particolar modo.
Sure.
In Italy specifically.
Yeah.
Particolare. Che considerano qualcosa come questa è diventata musulmana.
Because they see this kind of works like by saying, oh, she became Muslim.
Muslim,
Yeah, yeah,
Kind of derogatory.
non
wow.
riescono proprio a capirlo. A dire il vero, io ho esposto nel 2004 in Georgia, che è la parte redneck, come dicono, proprio più
I got that one. Yeah, yeah.
terribile. In Georgia nel
Georgia.
2004
In 2004,
Ecco, ho esposto
she
video.
in Georgia, which is a
Eh,
very conservative part.
ecco,
A
video
video.
e un'installazione di tappeti in terracotta.
A show of a showcase of
Simili a tappeti, non proprio.
carpets
Yeah.
Simili,
made of
non very
clay.
carpets.
Terracotta. Yeah. Uh-huh.
No, come i suoi, molto...
not like
no, assolutamente, i suoi sono stupendi. I miei erano come dei pezzi di terra.
Uh-huh.
Were like pieces of clay.
L'idea era
Sure.
l'idea del tappeto, dove ci sono le impronte delle persone.
There was
Erano
the footprints.
Footprints.
impronte di tante
People
donne.
footprints.
Impronte
with-
di tante donne in preghiera. Quando si prega si sta eretti, no? E poi
so the footprints of women
piccolo,
were
piccolo
while they were praying.
piccolo
So
pezzo
when
di-
you pray, you stand up.
in questo
Sì.
piccolo pezzo di terra, no? Di terracotta che
So
ho
in this
realizzato
small
con dei
piece of
ricami, no?
clay,
Tutto il peso del corpo sta.
that was the whole weight of the body.
Yeah.
E in quel piccolo spazio tu nasci, perché la terra nasci,
So
vivi,
in this
preghi e
small
muori. L'idea,
piece
no?
of
E io ho presentato
land.
questa installazione nel 2004 quando andate in guerra in Iraq. Non so se tu
So when
quando l'America...
so when I brought these these
in
pieces,
Iraq.
my works there during the time where United States were starting war in Iraq.
Ecco. È andata bene l'esposizione, per 2 anni non
The exhibition
non mi hanno più
went fine,
non mi hanno più invitato.
but for
dopo,
2 years I've never been invited.
Basta.
So I just want to, since people may not have heard, Omar asked a question about
È
cultural
molto
appropriation.
Cioè, è difficile, ecco.
If,
Adesso è meglio.
So it's quite
Adesso
difficult.
va-
Now it's becoming
adesso
better,
va bene,
but before was quite difficult.
And she said instead of cultural appropriation, it's more about her kind of being Muslim and Muslims getting thrown into this category together, regardless if you're from the African continent or from wherever. And one example she gave, though, was when she came to the U.S. and exhibited in Georgia.
Fatto
And
quando-
although the exhibit went
Sorry,
well, she
sorry.
didn't get invited back
Dopo-
to that place. So I think there's multiple layers that she's saying are there when she's representing her work as an Italian Muslim, depicting, depending on where she is, and depicting strong imagery from the African continent in her own experience. So I guess there's a lot to peel back there. I've just been told we have time for one more question. So if anyone has a burning one, this is your time now. Of course, you can come up to anyone afterwards, or if anyone from the panel has anything else. All right. I guess with that, I just want to say thank you to all of our panelists. A lot of them have come from long
you
and
very
far
much.
away. And I urge you to please check out all of their work here. again, like I said, if you're in Malaysia, you can check out what Pusaka is doing at many times. And for the rest, make sure that you come back tomorrow for Omar and Maïmouna sessions, and you can see Arig's work right outside. So thank you once again.